The Dalai Lama reaches safety on Indian soil after a 14-day trek across the Himalayas, a fugitive from Red China's bloody repression of the Tibetan revolt. 10,000 watch his ceremonial welcome in the town of Tashpur, his first public appearance. For nearly 3 weeks previous, he had been secluded in an Indian frontier area. Border incidents were a possibility, as were demonstrations by Indian Buddhists outraged at the threat to the sacred person of the living Buddha. Now, safe on Indian soil and free to speak his mind, the Dalai Lama charges that Beiping broke every promise to respect his country's independence and firmly denies Red claims he left Tibet against his will. Other members of the party told of his flight from Lhasa, disguised as a common monk. Exiled from his country and people, the Dalai Lama remains a symbol of faith to millions, and to all Asia, living testimony to Communist China's brutal aggression. At Augusta, President Eisenhower formally announces the selection of Christian Herter to succeed John Foster Dulles as Secretary of State. Quick confirmation by the Senate is expected. The announcement followed a complete medical examination at the President's suggestion, which disclosed that despite the arthritis of the hips from which he has long suffered, the 64-year-old Mr. Herter is in fine shape to take on the country's top foreign policy post. A major assignment soon, the coming Foreign Ministers meeting at Geneva. Outside the Metropolitan Opera House, a 39-hour vigil for the chance to be one of the 300 standees at the opening performance of the Bolshoi Ballet's first American tour. All seats were sold out far in advance. The arrival of the famous Soviet ballet troupe was an artistic event of the first magnitude. Not in many years has New York felt such an atmosphere of glamour and excitement. UN Secretary General Hamishol, Russian Ambassador Menshikov, and Elsa Maxwell were in the dazzling parade of notables from the worlds of diplomacy, society, and the arts, making up the audience for a performance of Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet, greeted with thunderous acclaim. Moscow's Bolshoi Ballet completely conquers New York. At Jamaica, the 35th running of the $88,000 Wood Memorial. Tops in the 3-year-old field are Derby candidates First Landing, Atoll, and Intentionally. And Eddie Arcaro, Sammy Bulbendis, and Willie Shoemaker keep the 3 favorites running together way out front for almost a complete circuit. But rounding into the stretch, things are amazingly different. Vanessa Moeller, number 2, has moved up along the rail and takes the lead from First Landing. Our Dad comes up on the inside strongly, but he's pocketed as Vanessa Moeller heads for the finish. First Landing, champion 2-year-old last year, trails by 3/4 of a length. Thanks to his sensational race, the Moeller will go on to the Preakness and Intentionally has been withdrawn from the Kentucky Derby. Tote board tells the story, a 64-1 shot in the turf upset of the season. New York's recent furor over proposals to legalize off-track betting recalls the great day for turf fanciers in 1934, when betting at the track was legalized for the first time in a generation. The bookmakers took in money hand over fist. The record crowd at Jamaica cheered the thriller-diller finish in the classic Pomanock Handicap, and even the losers got a big kick out of watching the payoff. In the days of the Great Depression, FDR's return from vacation, refreshed and deeply tanned, was cheering news. Met by NRA Chief General Hugh S. Johnson, President Roosevelt headed for the Capitol by special train to begin planning a $1.5 billion relief program. At Harvard, another Roosevelt was in the news. FDR Jr., out for freshman crew practice, came into the spotlight of publicity that usually follows the chief executive's family. He faced a hard prospect at stroke oar, the toughest spot of the 8. King Gustaf of Sweden, an old world monarch widely regarded with affection, took on a touch of awe With Princess Ingrid, his granddaughter, the king strode onto a Paris tennis court and proceeded to knock off a few brisk matches with the enthusiasm of a youngster. Pretty spry for 76 years. And Maura Lindbergh, who joined her Lone Eagle husband as co-pilot for a trailblazing 40,000-mile flight mapping 5 continents, became the first woman to receive the highest honor of the National Geographic Society and join the ranks of great explorers. As a climax or anticlimax to the good news of the season came 1934's spring styles. The hats were getting well away from the cloche and rimless helmets of past years. And the long, full lines of these street suits were smart and fetching, according to the commentators of the day. But somehow the models didn't seem too happy about the whole idea. And who can blame them?